Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, my weekly interview show where I get to learn a little bit more about somebody else's perspective on movies. And joining me is fellow reviewer, find Matt here all over social media. Matt Davis, thank you so much for coming on.
Glad to be here, Shane. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And before we jump into the questions, if you'd like to shamelessly plug whatever you'd like to shamelessly plug, where people can find you.
Yeah, so I run a couple different outlets. The first one and largest one is called Shall I Stream It? I talk about television streaming services and do reviews, talk about Hulu and Netflix and YouTube TV and all that good stuff. Kind of help people navigate through what is a very confusing world of
Yep.
television and streaming right now. So um, that I've got just got over 17,000 subscribers on YouTube. I also have a podcast with that. Thanks. And my kind of spin-off outlet that I have from that that's focused on movies and TV and not necessarily, things that are on streaming services is called Shall I See It? Still, growing steadily, but my biggest audience for that is on TikTok. So with either Shall I Stream It or Shall I See It? Look it up somewhere, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. It's probably there. Either Shall I Stream It or Shall I See It?
And you can find all those links in the description on this video. So I'll make sure to have a healthy amount of representation in there. TikTok's obviously a big outlet and such an
Hmm.
interesting time to be utilizing TikTok at the moment.
Hmm.
And, it's like, well, they better sell it. It's like, why do you care that much? But,
Yeah.
things we deal with. But
I,
now
yeah.
jumping into my questions, I've learned over the a lot of episodes that I've done on this that not a lot of people love this question, but we're going to start with it anyway. But what's your favorite film?
Yeah, this movie, you would think this would be an easy question. And I think it's one of
Milk.
those things. Yeah. It's like when Billy Eichner asks someone, like, name a woman. It's like, I don't know. I've never seen a movie before. What is this? But yeah, for me, my favorite movie, really kind of the criteria I look at is a few different things because I'm trying to consider what is a movie that I genuinely love that I would watch over and over, and what's a film that I think has made an impact on the culture, and also what's a film that I think has made an impact on my experience as a movie watcher, like what kind of informed my experience as a lover of movies. And for me, that's The Empire Strikes Back. I saw this, back in the 90s when they did the special edition re-releases.
Mhm.
So I got to see it for the first time in a movie theater. And it was just a transformative experience for me. Because, yeah, I had seen the first one also in a movie theater. And then it was such a sequel that I really felt like built on the original one in so many profound ways. The first one, first Star Wars, or technically fourth Star Wars, but whatever. Um, we uh, we were mostly up in outer space and the spaceships and
Mhm.
everything. Empire Strikes Back, you get to see Hoth, you get to see the Yoda's planet Dagobah, I think it's called.
Mhm.
And and also it has what I think is one of the most iconic plot twists of all time when you find out that Darth Vader, spoiler alert, is Luke
Yes, spoiler
Skywalker's.
alert.
Yeah. And that I remember just as a kid being in like disbelief, like, oh my
Mhm.
God, that's his dad. And I'm also a very literal person. So when Luke was like, no, I was like, See, it's not true because he said no.
It
Um,
can't be.
right.
It's not possible. Oh,
But yeah.
I remember watching that for the first time when they released the special edition VHS
Mm,
tapes in the 90s. I don't know if I've actually ever seen the original versions of the
mm,
original trilogy.
hmm.
It's just been at that point where it's just like, nope, George Lucas had his hands on the special editions my whole life watching Star Wars. But it is one of the greatest sequels of all time. And I imagine a lot of people were probably upset because it's a downer, downer
Right.
ending at the time. But like, looking back, that's what people appreciate about it. It was
Mhm.
daring, it was bold, it was such an interesting gift on the first film. And yeah,
Mhm.
it's literally the one of the greatest twists in the history of cinema. Like that's up there with like, Planet of the Apes
Right.
and just like completely ripping that rug out from under you. And also, you know, a couple of days before we were recording this, it was May the 4th, with the Star
Hmm.
Wars Day. That's how impactful Star Wars has been. We
Right.
literally celebrate a day for it. So it's a seminal classic, and I would love to see it in a theater. I might have to try to make sure I do that, the next time Disney's hurting for money and they want to put it back in theaters.
Well, yeah, I mean, I also want to see the like original version. I've never seen that, and I don't even know where you can find it. So, yeah.
I know there's VHS versions of it floating around there, but you're
Hmm.
going to have to pay some money and also
Right.
find a player that still works. And hopefully the tapes still work.
Mm.
Now, Matt, what's your earliest memory of going to the movies?
Yeah, so my earliest memory, it technically wasn't in a movie theater. It was a screening at a community college.
Okay.
But they did a screening of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and I saw it with
Nice.
my family when I was, like little. I was a toddler, and this is maybe like oversharing, but I believe it was my reward for like going poo poo on the potty. Um, so
Great reward.
right. That was my earliest memory. And as a kid, I was it was during the Disney Renaissance and all of that. So
Yes.
I feel like that was kind of peak Disney time. But for me, I was kind of a precocious kid. I liked the classics. I liked Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Peter Pan. I think I had a more refined palette of Disney films. So yeah, Snow White, Snow White was my jam. I liked that it was kind of dark, it was it's got that scary element. You got the witch and you got the vultures like circling around at the end and, lots of things going
They're still
on.
creepy, like
Right.
90 years later,
Right.
which is crazy that it is literally almost 90 years old. But it's like, that's what's so impressive about classic Disney. It's like these films were made almost 100 years ago and
Hmm.
still have that kind of cultural impact to the point where they want to keep remaking them and making money off of them.
Right. And
Um,
and
we'll see how that
yeah,
goes.
yeah. And to think too, like just how these people like sat down and drew this frame by frame. Like they
Literal
didn't have
cells.
computers to scan it into or anything.
Yeah, it's wild to think about. I was actually, quick side note, I was listening to pre-production podcast from Chris Stuckman, and he was
Hmm.
interviewing Mike Flanagan. Like Mike Flanagan's like, the camera on your phone is better than the camera I used when I was first making movies, and nobody would bat an eye on you just like filming on your
Hmm.
phone. Who needs permits? Gorilla this, go make a movie. It's just like it's true. It's such a crazy thing to think about. And like you could do animation is such an intricate thing, especially back
Hmm.
then when you literally had to draw every single frame, every movement for so slight. And that's just miraculous that those films even work. So that makes them even special, more special.
Yeah, very meticulous and definitely I have huge respect to anyone who can do animation because I think that's fascinating and incredible.
Absolutely. Now, Matt, do you have a particular favorite genre of movies?
Yeah, so my favorite genre, I would say I have a few different ones, but the genre that really stands out to me as like something where if a film is in this genre, I will see a movie specifically because of that,
Hmm.
based on no other factors. Maybe because I'm super basic and have poor taste, but other people can be the judge of that. But it would be musicals. I was a theater kid growing up. And I live in the Kansas City area. I don't live, by New York City, so I didn't always get to see like big Broadway shows. I saw some touring productions and things like that, but you know, musical films were my way to get to experience Broadway and get to
Hmm.
experience, these big shows. And so, yeah, I have those memories. I didn't get to see Hairspray on Broadway, but I got to see the Hairspray film when I was in high school. Got to see Phantom of the Opera, even though, people are a little sketchy on that lead performance in the film version, but it didn't shake me. But yeah, I just I know it's kind of an acquired taste for a lot of people, but I just like the emotion and campiness and just kind of wildness that happens with musical films, and I'm definitely a big fan of the musical. Another genre that I really like is horror. I
Mhm.
tend to have kind of a very specific taste in horror. I don't really like stuff that's real gory. I don't like
Mhm.
jump scares. I'm kind of a jumpy person, so sometimes I'll Google and see like if a film has jump scares first because I'm like, is this movie worth a heart attack? I don't know. But yeah, I tend to like those that are, a little more dark and have like kind of an edginess to them.
Mhm.
So, but I like the Jordan Peele. I like kind of the Hitchcockian sort of films. So I would say those are kind of my two genres. I'm like, kind of more of a thriller horror and a musical. And if you can do both, give me some like Little Shop of Horrors or give me some like something like that, then we're golden.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of musicals too, and it's just so magical what film can do, bringing to
Mhm.
life. Because like inherently, musicals are a bit fantastical. Because we don't just
Mhm.
casually just start singing in the middle of life. That would make life a lot more interesting, though.
Well, speak for
Um,
yourself.
yes, sorry, Matt does indeed go around just singing his feelings all the time. Um, but it's one of those kinds of things where even if the movie's not great, but if I'm like vibing with the music, I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I'll still watch this again because like I know like The Greatest Showman, is P.T. Barnum a good person? No,
Mhm.
but it's Hugh Jackman, and I love the music,
Mhm.
so I continue to watch this movie, and which obviously a lot of other people did too because that made a ridiculous amount of money.
Mhm.
God, I wish musicals could make that kind of money again.
Yeah.
Which they unfortunately don't because we've gotten
Mhm.
some amazing musicals. And for some reason, it always seems like people are much more comfortable with animated musicals.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's because, well, it's animated anyway. It doesn't seem odd that,
Mhm.
these lions are singing
Right.
or stuff
Well,
like
I,
that.
I I don't know that photorealistic version of the lion singing was a little questionable to me.
Well, that indeed was. It's like, what did they do to my boy when it comes to be prepared? It's
Yeah.
like this was one of the best of the what did you do to it? Um, yeah.
Mhm.
For a lot of people who are just like, that was why that even happened, it still made $1.7 billion dollars. So
That's
a
why it
lot of
happened.
people went to go see it and were like, then thought, why the hell did they do this?
Mm.
But in terms of horror, I I also am not like I'm not the kind of person that like loves buckets of gore, like Saw kind of
Mhm.
stuff's
Mhm.
not my thing. But like if you can make a really good horror film and oh, I love Little Shop of Horrors. Little Shop of
Mhm.
Horrors is so much fun. Sweeney Todd.
Mhm.
Um, I would like to see a Sweeney Todd version with, actual singers this time,
Yeah.
which like the Tim Burton one certainly got the vibe right.
Mhm.
Um, some of the singing talent is a little questionable. Um,
Mhm.
and like when you're trying to replace Angela Lansbury with Helena Bonham Carter, you're just like,
Mhm.
not doing it for me. But
Yeah.
um, that's one I would love to see on Broadway. I
Mhm.
occasionally go to shows because I live in New Jersey. It's a couple hour trek in a train for me to get into New York City, but definitely musicals are a lot of fun. And I love when you could be creative and mix different kinds of genres like that.
Yeah. Well, they had the Josh Groban version of Sweeney Todd, so
Yeah, I was not going to pay like half my salary to go see Josh Groban do Sweeney Todd. That's the tricky thing too, because like stuff's expensive.
hmm Yeah, and
Uh,
when they announced that casting, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, but I saw those performances, the little clips, and I thought, no, okay.
Yeah, it's tricky because like you need to be intimidated
Hmm.
by Sweeney Todd. I think they forgot that too in
Yeah.
the Tim Burton movie because I'm like, Johnny Depp, I'm not buying like
Mm.
you as this horrifying figure because like if you listen to versions from like Len Cariou and George Hearn, it's like they actually seem terrifying. I would be afraid this person's gonna murder me. Um, Josh Groban though, I don't know. Also, probably should be a beast.
Yeah.
Need to have a little something deeper in there with the voice. Now, Matt, who's your favorite filmmaker?
Yeah, so that's, it's kind of like choosing a favorite child. So many good choices there. So, for me, I mentioned before, I love Jordan Peele. That's his work. If I see his name on a poster, that's one of the people where it's like I'll see the movie specifically because Jordan Peele is attached to it.
Yep,
Um, I love just the artistry and the symbolism in his films. How it creates this sense of dread and horror at the same time that there's humor in it. And I
yep.
love the incorporation of that together. I like Alfred Hitchcock.
Mm.
He's gotten kind of a bad rap in recent years, but I do like Taika Waititi. I like his style. And I like Stanley Kubrick. The Shining and, apart from issues with the production and whatever, just that
Mm.
aside,
Stanley
it,
Kubrick was a jerk.
yeah.
So, like,
Yeah, maybe not, my favorite character qualities, but my certainly I think his work is incredible and Clockwork Orange and The Shining and films like that are some of the ones that, they were some of the first because I had kind of a sheltered upbringing a little bit. So it was a while before I started watching like R-rated movies or horror
mhm.
films. And so when I started watching things like that, it was kind of like, wow, this is a really transformative experience for me once again. So, and The Shining was one of those films, just creeped me out and really got me interested in film. So,
I'm surprised by human beings that say they're not creeped out by The Shining.
mm, right.
There's just something deeply disturbing about literally everything in that movie. Whether
Something about those
it's
twins.
which actually this is a great connection to I feel like the movie Nope has the
Hmm.
most amazing usage of the title
Mm.
in a movie. Just when Daniel Kaluuya drops that nope, he just closes the car door. Perfect. Also, the right response if you're driving a little tricycle around a creepy hotel and just randomly see two twin girls at the end of the hallway, it's like, nope, turn back around. We're getting out of here. Um, Hitchcock's definitely somebody that like it's hard not to be like aware of Hitchcock and like
Hmm.
Psycho and stuff like that, but I've definitely watched a lot more of his other films lately. And like I watched The Lady Vanishes within the past
Hmm.
couple months, and that just blew me away. I'm like, how did they make this movie in like the 30s? And
Hmm.
it still feels so modern
Hmm.
and interesting. And there's very few people quite like Hitchcock. And I'm here to defend Taika Waititi a little bit here. People just like all of a sudden are just like, I hate Taika Waititi, he's so
Hmm.
overrated because of Thor Love and Thunder.
Hmm.
And it's just like, it was one movie. If he didn't like it, that doesn't change the fact that he's made some great movies.
Hmm.
And I'll stand by Hunt for the Wilder People.
Hmm.
Love that movie to pieces. What We Do in the Shadows is one of the funniest movies,
Hmm.
period. And also, somehow they made a show that was even better than the movie,
Hmm.
which is fantastic too. And people were way too harsh on Next Goal Wins.
Hmm.
Like, way too harsh. I'm like, sure, it's an underdog sports movie, but like, it was a blast. And I had such a great time with him. Like, why are people so angry? Like, relax, enjoy the movie.
Right. Yeah, I saw that with the AMC Screen Unseen, so I saw it a little bit
Oh,
early,
nice.
and yeah, I thought it was hilarious. It wasn't, was it my favorite film of all time? Probably not, but definitely had a blast watching it in the theater, and
Mhm.
also the audience loved it too. I mean, people just cracked up, and yeah, I just love the quirkiness and humor of his work. And
Absolutely.
Our Flag Means Death. Love that show. So
Oh, that
yeah.
show's so great too. Show's wild.
Mm.
This is like my wife's super into like weird history. She knows all this stuff about all of these pirates already. And it's just like watching the show and just being like, pirate history, but let's make it gay.
Right.
That's basically the show. And God, I love Taika Waititi
Mm.
performing. Sometimes there's some that I'm just like, not the best, but like loved him as Blackbeard in that. And
Mm.
then God, I love Reese Darby so much.
Mm.
What a gem. Like
Yeah.
he just showed up and spouted exposition in Next Goal Wins, and I'm just happy Reese Darby's here. It's
Mm.
just so much fun. Which I guess is a nice segue into in front of the camera. Who are some of your favorite actors?
So in front of the camera, I would say right now the actress who it's another person. Kind of part of my criteria for this is
Mm,
who, when I see their name on the poster, would I be like, hey, I have to see that movie because of that person, and it would be Margot Robbie. I love her, just her versatility. She's someone who could have easily just kind of gone this route of like, she's the blonde bombshell superstar, but she's had so many different roles where she gets to be a character actress and,
mhm.
play Tanya Harding and
I
play
don't know
Harley,
no Tony Harding.
uh, Tanya Harding. Yeah. And Harley Quinn and so many different amazing iconic roles just in, her filmography and, now she's Barbie. So
Yes.
it yeah. And it's not just that she's, also acting, but also then producing and also kind of charting her own destiny with her career as well and taking control of that. And yeah, I think she's just fabulous and incredible.
Margot Robbie is like obviously she got so much attention for Wolf of Wall Street when she
Hmm.
first popped up in that. And for mostly for well, two reasons. One, absolutely gorgeous, and two, damn, she held her own against Leo like really, really well in the
Hmm.
acting sense in that movie. And then you're right, she's been able to do all kinds of like what kind like who would want to go out of their way to beat Anya Harding in a like a
Right.
biopic
Hmm.
and have to be like that person that like so many people hate? And
Hmm.
she was so damn good. I love I, Tanya
Hmm.
so much. And then of course she got into that role of Harley Quinn and just ran with it.
Hmm.
And was the best part of every movie she popped up in. Whether the movie was bad or it was great. And both of those are
Hmm.
Suicide Squad movies. But like it's one of those things where it's just like she is so magnetic and just
Hmm.
grabs your attention. And I can't wait to see what other kinds of roles she chooses for herself.
Yep. So yeah, Margot Robbie is definitely towards the top of my list, and a lot of other actors too. I mean, actors I grew up with would be like Robin Williams. That his work is incredible, and I think
Yep.
there will never be another Robin Williams. He was
Mm-mm.
someone who had such a profound effect on so many people's lives through his work, and um, yeah, I'll always think of Robin Williams when I think of like seminal important actors of my childhood from Aladdin and Jumanji and Patch Adams and all that stuff that I grew up with. And looking throughout history, there's actors I like, Judy Garland, all kinds of different people. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you could find somebody around our ages probably that love Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of question why you don't love Williams if you
Right.
say no. Um, but no, like if you grew up watching Aladdin and
Hmm.
didn't latch on to the genie at some point,
Hmm.
just that is such an insanely talented performance
Hmm.
that, but well above and beyond what was expected of somebody to do a voice acting performance to the point where he changed so much and did so much improv that they're like, there is a legitimate giant chunk of the movie that was fully original just
Hmm.
because of him. That's an impact, and you know, being able to watch things like Dead Poet Society and Good Will
Hmm.
Hunting as you get older too, and just feel the
Hmm.
weight of his talent in terms of drama too,
Hmm.
just really hit something special.
Yep.
Now, Matt, what's a film that you could literally just watch any day, every day?
I would say for me, it would be The Wizard of Oz. That
Nice.
is a film that to me is just one of the all-time classics. I'm also from Kansas, so even though it maybe doesn't have the most, beautiful, flattering image of Kansas, it was something as a kid where it was cool to see Kansas on
Mm,
film, represented, and that was a connection. And I think it's also just kind of the emblematic of the story of the hero's journey of
mm,
yearning, of wanting to get out and experience something more, something beyond Kansas. And and everything from the songs to the color to the vibrance of it, and also the history and the lore.
mm.
One of some of the things that I follow on TikTok, there's a couple of people where their entire TikTok account is just devoted to talking about the Wizard of Oz, and I'm
Is it David
fascinated.
Lynch?
No,
David Lynch is probably the world's biggest Wizard of Oz fan.
yeah.
Literally watched the whole entire documentary Lynch Oz about people
Mm.
doing video essays about how connected he is to the Wizard of Oz.
Huh.
It has impact even on the strangest, most idiosyncratic filmmakers out there. So there you go.
I need to check that out. Huh. So,
It was interesting. It literally is just like I think it was close to 2 hours. It's literally just video
mm,
essays from a couple of directors.
mm,
So like if you love film that much that you'll watch just other people talk about film for 2 hours, it definitely
sure.
is an interesting perspective on it. Yeah, The Wizard of Oz is one of like the perfect fantasies. Like if
Hmm.
somebody's like, what's fantasy like? Just like that's it. That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
And it's timeless.
Yeah, it's just kind of speaks to our desires and emotions, and I think that's one of the best things that film can do is transport you on that journey, and also, have that message at the end that you had that power all along.
There you
It's
go.
just within you. So,
It
yeah.
was inside of us the whole time.
It's in your
And the fact
shoes.
it's in your shoes, clack them together. It's just so interesting too that this has had such a rich lore to it since that it's like how many different ways are we trying to look at? Well,
Mm.
what if she was just misunderstood? And that's why we have Wicked. So,
Hmm.
and I'm pretty excited about that. I've never gotten a
Hmm.
chance to see the show,
Hmm.
so I do want to see the film and how they do with that, you know, in two parts.
Hmm.
Because that's what we do these days. So that'll be interesting when that does come out. And then especially like if you grew up with Return to Oz,
Mm.
you grew up with a special childhood of trauma.
Right.
This the movie is dark.
Yeah, I checked that out as a kid from the video store, and that movie, just the part with the heads, that was the part where I was like, "Ugh, I'm
Mombi
creeped
and her
out."
whole entire collection of pretty lady heads.
Yeah,
And
but
then the like
it's
the
a great film.
Wheelers.
The Wheelers too,
And then
terrifying,
God,
nightmare fuel.
yep. Whole movie's nightmare fuel. It's just like Dorothy, we're afraid that you went to Oz. So we're gonna try something. It's called electric shock therapy. And you're just like, as an adult, you're just like, I know what that machine is.
Right.
I know
Yeah.
what they're gonna do to her. Wild.
It's a film I've gone back and watched as an adult. Like now I appreciate it. I think
Yes.
it's it's done really, really well, but definitely some questionable decisions in a film marketed towards children. I can see why that was not considered a success at the time.
Oh man, the 80s were a special time for films made for kids,
Right.
which we can all appreciate a lot more now as an adults because no, they were not made for children. They were made for us when we grew up later.
Right. So,
Now,
makes the thing to return to. So, return to Oz.
absolutely.
So, yeah, Wizard
There
of
you go.
Oz.
Now, I really love this question. What's a film that can you connect with closely because it relates to another interest of yours?
Yeah, I would say, what that makes me think of the most, with that subject is just films that talk about social media and talk about
Mhm.
YouTube. Um, I wouldn't say I have a connection and that I feel like the filmmakers nailed it because I don't feel like I've ever really seen a film that, um, perhaps with the exception of Eighth Grade, where and the director obviously had a personal connection where I
Yes.
feel like they have highlighted the experience of someone using YouTube and
Mhm.
done it in a way that was really authentic and felt like they did their research. But
He
there's
100%
films,
felt like a real eighth grader on YouTube. Like
right? Yeah,
100%.
yeah, it definitely had that cringiness and that kind of like trying to put on an image to the rest of the world when
Gucci.
yeah when something else is going on. But yeah, and then there's films that I like and I'm drawn to because they do cover social media, like A Simple Favor, with Anna Kendrick, where
Mhm.
I there's so many things as I'm watching this where I'm like, it's not very accurate. Doesn't feel like that's how it would quite flow in real life. Like could this woman really make like this whole thing of her being a YouTuber when I don't remember how many followers she had on the movie, but I'm thinking, okay, I don't think she could do this whole thing and live in that house as a YouTuber. But
Like,
um,
okay, Anna Kendrick. Okay.
yeah, but that's the thing I connect with a lot is when I see that experience of people doing social media and. But it's not in the sense that I feel connected with it. Like I feel like, wow, that was a really authentic experience. I'm connected with it in the sense that I feel like I want to ponder this and think about it and appreciate the message the filmmakers are trying to convey, which often is a good message and is an accurate message, even if I feel like the details were a little sketchy there.
Well, and eighth grade something special because Bo
Mhm.
Burnham's something special.
Right.
I
Yeah, that Netflix
honestly
special.
was in inside. It took me a year to watch it because, like, I
Hmm.
don't really watch comedy specials, and then I watched them like this is not a this is way more than a comedy special. And I literally had at least three friends from Sif Pop being like, "You have to watch Inside." And I think the decision when I finally made the decision to watch it was we did top 10 Netflix movies
Hmm.
for our Sif Pop Best Ever challenge, and Inside was number one. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, at this point, like, I have to watch this because
Mhm.
everybody's hyping this up so much. It hit. Now, Matt, who's a movie character you connect with on a personal level?
A character that I connect with on a personal level. One character that I'm usually thinking about when I'm late to things is the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland.
Mhm.
Um, but and I am often running late to things, but that would be my answer. That's kind of a lame answer, but I would say I don't know, maybe like a more profound answer. I guess just going back to the Wizard of Oz, I guess the reason I connect with it is just that experience of longing and that experience of feeling like you are in circumstances that maybe you don't appreciate all of the wonder that is there, and you want to go to a next level. And having that experience of kind of the whole, full circle moment to realize your own power and realize your own uh, connection to your homeland. I
Mhm.
guess that would be a story that I connect with.
I can definitely understand that. I am one of the world's biggest New Jersey defenders. Stop making fun of New Jersey people, thank you. Because I swear, every time a movie just goes out of its way to make fun of New Jersey, I'm just like, why? You didn't have to choose violence.
Right.
I think the one that frustrated me the most was, do you remember the movie Moonfall when that came out a couple of years ago? And the
Mm-hmm.
little girl at the beginning is like, New Jersey. I'm like, we don't want you, kid. Just like this horrible, dumb movie went out of its way to take shots at New Jersey. It's just like, I wasn't liking you anyway, but now this made it even worse. But like, I could definitely understand, like, I would imagine that connection in terms of like Wizard of Oz is pretty impactful. And trust me, I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way about the White Rabbit, and just like, well, I meant to be there at this time, trying to get there. Now, Matt, what's a film that you love that you feel like would surprise people?
I love a good movie that is a bad movie, a movie that is
Okay.
so bad it becomes good. I think a lot of people would be surprised that I tend to watch some really not so great films, kind of just bottom of the barrel, and enjoy them. There was a film that I saw called Blood Diner, kind of a cult classic. I believe it came out in the late 80s. I was on a podcast called The Cult Companion where we watched that film and talked about it. And it's one of those movies where I can't even remember all that went on with it. There was like a talking mannequin, and there was some monsters, and there was a diner where they were serving up human flesh or something, and the special effects were really bad and the acting was really bad. But just as you're watching it, it's I was enjoying myself. It was a good experience. I found myself kind of transported to that place where heartbreak feels good, like Nicole Kidman at AMC. So I it has an interesting story to it as well. The director Jackie oh, what's her last name? I can't remember, but
I literally just pulled this up on IMDb. It's Jackie Kong,
Jackie Kong. Okay, yeah. Jackie Kong, she was an
Blood
Asian woman
Diner.
working in the space of horror at a time when there really weren't it, there wasn't anyone like her doing that, and she created this cult classic that a lot of people love despite its flaws. And and also I believe as a fun fact, the guy who did the poster for that film, my gosh, there was a really iconic poster that he also did, and it's drawing a blank as to which one it was.
I have to
I was
say,
full.
this is a pretty like for a movie called Blood
Mhm.
Diner. This is a pretty great poster.
Yeah.
Like they nailed it.
Right.
So, like,
Oh, wait. I think I might be wrong about this, but I believe he designed the Little Mermaid cover that had the phallic um building. I, I might be wrong
nice.
about that, but there was some kind of connection where I thought, man, that's an interesting little factoid there. So I might be wrong about that. Someone should fact check this. I maybe just slandered someone publicly. So um,
It is not on the IMDb trivia page,
okay.
so I gave it a try. But this was banned in a number of provinces in Canada.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll look this up later. I feel like there was some kind of I was fully prepared to pull out an interesting little fact about that, and I maybe just made something up.
Well, that
We'll
poster
find
makes
out.
me think this looks like a really fun 80s horror movie. So, poster did its
Yeah,
job. So, there you go.
right.
Now, Matt, my last question for you is what do you love most about movies?
Well, there was a quote from Roger Ebert where he said something along the lines of movies are like a machine that generates empathy. And I feel like that's what movies do. It takes us to an experience where we can connect with characters that aren't like ourselves, whether they are someone from a different culture, different background, or whether they are hobbits, going through Middle Earth or what have you. It helps us connect to the humanity of people and experiences that aren't like ourselves. And in doing that, it helps increase our understanding of people that are going through different walks of life. And yeah, it's just I think films are such an important part of our cultural upbringing and an important part of our emotional language to understand ourselves, our own psychology, and people around us. So, story film really is the form of storytelling that we have, film and television. And I mean, there's other things. There's novels, there's video games, but uh, I think movies are an important thing, and I think they shape us and they help guide our intentions. But at their very best, they can help us learn about and understand people that aren't like ourselves. And I think that's the power that movies have.
Absolutely beautifully said, and I 100% agree. Nothing to add, no notes. Now, how I like to wrap up this show is actually let my guest ask me a question.
Okay.
So, Matt, what would you like to ask the Wasteland reviewer?
Oh goodness. What is um my question? There was I'm gonna take a cue from Anne Hathaway.
Okay.
I saw an interview where someone interviewed Anne Hathaway, and the interviewer had a DVD collection behind them.
Uh-huh.
And she asked them to pick a DVD at random and from behind them and tell them about that film. So I want to know if you can do that.
And I pulled out my Ip Man collection.
Oh,
um, I'm a huge action movie
mm,
fan. I'm a professed action movie snob.
mm,
So like one of my biggest pet peeves about movies is overly edited action. You
mm.
can't see what's going on. But like something special about having somebody like Donnie Yen in a movie is he could do it all and actually do it. So I remember watching the first It Man and just being blown away by the action and God, when they added him in John Wick Chapter 4, this most recent John Wick movie, so
Mm.
amazing. But I do have to watch the other ones. But to my friend Haley out there, I told
Mm.
her next time we get to hang out, we're gonna watch the rest of these Ip Man movies. Um, so I'm kind of holding off watching the rest of them until then. But I've heard some really good things about some of the other ones. But that first Ip Man movie, when I watched it, I think I watched it for the first time last year. I was
Mm.
really blown away by it. So I could be down for a good martial arts film.
Yeah.
There you
Uh,
go.
a good martial arts film. Hard to go wrong with that. Although you
I know
you
I
are the
could.
action movie aficionado, so I'm sure you might say you could go wrong with that.
This yellow box over here is my Criterion Bruce Lee collection.
Mm,
So, which
nice.
like he was the master. I'm pretty sure the first probably the first like real martial arts film I saw was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It's just like
Hmm.
kind of sets the tone. Like there's some legit stuff. So I'm also a pretty big fan of Asian cinema.
Hmm.
I've definitely gotten super into like Japanese cinema, especially like samurai films and stuff like that. But like some good martial arts films are either they could be a ton of fun or, a whole entire parallel to World War II, apparently, like Ip Man. So there you
Yeah.
go.
I
But
feel like martial arts films are a genre I need to do a deep dive into. I've haven't seen nearly enough. I've seen Kill Bill Volume 2,
actually, you know
but I
what?
need to see more.
That's probably one of the first martial arts films that I saw. It's like, and thanks to Quentin Tarantino, I'm like, I need to see more of these. So I guess that is the power of Tarantino.
Mm,
I do a monthly movie marathon with some of my friends, and my friends voted for a martial arts movie marathon this year. So
mm,
I think we're doing that in July.
mm,
So I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun because, they could be fun and silly, like things like Kung Fu Hustle and
mm,
stuff like that. Or it could be something serious like It Man and stuff like that. So, and Crouching Tiger. So we shall see. But
mm.
Matt, this was a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting some movies with me.
Yeah, I had fun. Definitely thanks for inviting me to your podcast and
Absolutely.
had a blast. So,
And I had a fun time. Hopefully, we could do this again in the future. But I'll make sure to shamelessly plug all of your links in the description so people go check out all of Matt's great work on YouTube and TikTok and elsewhere. But thank you all, as always, for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.